So what we have today is so some like a little bit more about me, and definitely life after graduation, and then a lot of other things which is going to be important for you after graduation, and also a little bit of life after COVID-19, because this year has been quite hard on everyone, and it's only going to get harder after we've completed with the COVID-19. So um, hope you enjoy this, and I'd love to get your feedback, and like I would love to have an engaging session towards the end to make sure that everyone has questions, um, so I can like answer some of them. Cool. So I know that everyone is sort of excited in a way, either to go like graduate or even look at possible career opportunities uh, after this. And I was in the same place like almost 10 years ago when I did my undergraduate degree in VIT. So yeah, I think the main thing everyone is scared about is definitely what lies ahead, and it does have a lot of pressure on you in terms of what you need to choose. Is that going to be your career opportunity, or is that going to be a career for a lifetime? But you don't need to worry. And I think definitely a lot, like I was in your same place. Like I didn't know what I was going to do, and I can tell you for sure that I wasn't a person who knew it all to get to where I am today. So so don't be anxious, don't be afraid that you're not where you want to be. You'll definitely find your way through the next few things. So again, I think I've actually drove past the Kamaraj um, college several times, because actually I'm a native of Virudhunagar. So my mother is actually from Sivakasi, and my father's native. They are actually from Virudhunagar. I was actually born in Virudhunagar uh, now nearly 30 years ago. Um, and again, I love coming to what to say regional part of India, because I think you really run like move away from the city life of Chennai, and always I love coming to Virudhunagar and Sivakasi mainly for the food, and also I get to see my maternal grandparents. Uh, so again, I want to dedicate this whole session for my late mother and my grandfather as well, because I think they've played a huge role in what I've been doing today. Um, they've actually been not with us for like another last 5 years. So again, I'll touch on what are the things difficulties you would face as well, like later on in this session. But yeah, a little bit more about me. Again, being native of Virudhunagar, I spent all my time actually growing up in Chennai, and then went for my boarding school in Uti, which I was there for like majority of my time until I finished my 12th standard. And then a little bit after that, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to do something engineering, because who doesn't want to be an engineer in India? Everyone is almost an engineer in India. But I guess that was my first step. Like, I wanted to do engineering. So, and also I want to do a bit of science. So that's why I actually chose biotechnology, because it has a bit of uh, engineering and also science. I actually pursued biotechnology in VIT, which I enjoyed for 4 years. Again, all through this, almost 10 years in boarding, and then another 4 years actually I was away from home from Chennai. So at this point, I can say that I've lived more outside Chennai than actually in Chennai. So I think it's definitely something I love doing. I don't like just staying at home. I love exploring different parts to know about the culture, know about different people, uh, and then also make friends from everywhere. Through this process, I've actually made friends from like all over India, and then now I'm fortunate to have actually come to Australia. So again, 4 years, it went by very quickly, and I think I enjoyed my time in university in VIT, but I think I enjoyed my school days even more, because I think I grew up with a lot of people for like 10 years. So that kept so much close to my heart. 4 years of university, didn't know what I was going to do after my university. So like, I mean, I'm sure many of you are like in the same place, but I was fortunate that we had campus interview then. So I actually got selected for a campus interview for an IT company. Well, you see, like, from biotech going into IT. But I think it was good exposure for me to come and work for an IT company. I came back to Chennai, and then I was there for like training, like about 6 months. And then I went to Coimbatore, where I was stationed there for like about a year. But I think what I really got out of working in IT industry was like knowing the corporate culture. And I think it's definitely like, it's quite different to your university life, where, you have professors telling you what to do and like what you need to do, and also what you need to learn. But it's all like, like almost everything is there for you. There's all the resource there for you. But once you go outside your college, I think everything is quite different. You're like sort of thrown in a team where there's like about 20, 30 different people, and all of them could be different age group. I remember in my team, there were like people who were like almost 50 years old. And again, like because of the corporate culture, everyone sort of welcomes you and like sort of like welcomes you into your team and make sure that you're comfortable. But again, like a lot of things sort of just starts hitting you then, because that's when, like, I think there's a lot of pressure from yourself that you want to make a career out of it, but also from your family perspective, they are looking at you as a potential income provider to the family as well. And I think that's where like it becomes very tricky, that you want to continue pursuing a career which you are like, you are sort of forced into. You really didn't have a choice. But and then you also don't know whether this is what you want to continue doing. But if you leave this, you also mean that you're going to actually leave work. So I think that's a big pressure to put on yourself. But I took the leap after about 2 years in Cognizant, and I did want to go to do higher studies in Australia. I did apply for a few different places, but finally, like I think I chose Australia because it was something where it was very relatable to my career, which I wanted to choose. So I actually studied food science in Australia. So food science is predominantly like uh, it's a science degree where you actually go through talking about food processing and food processing engineering, and also food safety and things like that. So there are a lot of like companies in India which we call FMCG. It's called fast moving consumer goods. So anything you buy in your supermarket or from any small shop, like from your Maggie to all the way into a shampoo and everything, they're all classified under fast moving consumer goods. So predominantly, like I was looking to enter into a company which mass produces like shampoos, Maggie, for example, like that. So I think that was something which I was really passionate about, because I know that food is something, um, it's going to be hard for us in the future. So I think I chose that as an opportunity to pursue. Um, and I came here to Australia. So coming to Australia, you would think that everything is easy, but you have to leave everything behind: your family, your culture, everything. When you come here, it is quite new for me, like in terms of who do I speak to, who do I meet, who do I like, see to get things done. I think everything was very hands-on, but also made a big step here when I moved, to choose to go work part-time. And I think you would have seen in the movies and also like spoke to your friends who actually do live abroad, or like they're actually studying abroad. Something which comes up is like your part-time jobs. I think it's very valuable that, like, it's also like a reality check when you actually go into working for, uh, like, as a part-time. So when I say part-time, is something where a job which you easily get, which is like, working in a restaurant or something like that. So that was something really different for me, because obviously when I grew up in my house, I actually never cleaned a plate. Like, we had maid, or we had someone do it for me, or my mother helped me do this. And all that, actually I had to do it myself when I went into part-time. But it was like I enjoyed the environment because it was something new I did. But also, which meant that I was paid for some like, some job which I was doing, which I could then use to pay off my rent, which I like for the house I was living in. So all that. So I think I was very independent when I moved here. uh, I like my family, even though they provided the money for me to actually migrate to Australia, I think I always felt a lot of pride in actually doing a lot of things myself, so that I actually built all this myself. Um, but definitely the support I got from my family was like something which really kept me going. So and then like halfway through, I did multiple internships, and then I stumbled upon a company called Mars. So it's called Mars Pet Care or Mars Pet Nutrition now. So we actually make uh, pet food for dogs and cats. I'm sure you would have seen in like in ads and stuff in India about pedigree, uh, Whiskas. So my company actually manufactures that. It's actually like a very big company, like globally. In Australia, they're actually the largest pet food manufacturer. And actually, we do have a plant in India as well, in Hyderabad, which makes all the Indian pedigree and Whiskas as well. So I chose this and I continued staying here because of my love for pets. So I do have a dog, um, which I love a lot, and also which he's actually an adopted dog as well. But again, yeah, again, based on like my passion towards pets, that's why I continued staying here. And my current role, what I do is like I actually formulate recipes. So I am in charge of over 200 recipes for these products. So again, what I do is like make sure that we continue supplying products into supermarket, and then our factory continues running. So I take care of all the formulas, all the raw materials, everything at the back, and I pretty much sit on my computer for like 8 hours and make sure that the factory is running perfectly. So it's a big sort of task, but again, also it's like I'm very passionate about doing all that small little bit of work, making sure that my factory is running, and also we're providing like pet food for all the pets. Um, and you might be wondering why pet food, because pet food is like in India we would just give them like curd rice or rice and some dal or something. But actually, the culture in developed countries is quite different. They actually have pet food, and yeah, so the pet food is predominantly just for pets, and it's very convenient for the users to actually feed them. So that's my journey. But also, I through this way, I actually also do a lot of sort of extracurricular activities. So something like running, like so I'm really passionate about running. I've run a marathon like about a year ago with a lot of practice, and now I'm actually into a lot of cycling. I'll tell you why it's very important to do and continue doing some of these extracurricular activities, like into the presentation. So, what is life after graduation like? You'd wonder, because I mean, there's nearly like 6,000 engineering colleges in India, and every year there's nearly 15 lakhs of engineering graduates. What makes everyone unique? Like everyone is sort of studying, like for you guys, like most of you are studying computer science engineering or mechanical engineering. So what sets you apart? Like what is different from you to like one lakh, or like the 15 lakh other people who are studying? I mean, there's so much of opportunities like elsewhere as well, but why do we have so many engineers? I mean, there's one thing, like a lot of people start studying engineering, but then they pursue another career out of after this. But I think one thing is like, choosing this is quite hard because we don't have a lot of choice, or our schooling system is not in a way that it tells you what you need to choose to go and do your higher studies. It's quite different to like country like Australia, like like the students I've actually studied with over here and like friends who I've made over here, they sort of already have an idea what they want to do, and their universities allow them to choose courses which for example, like an subject in India is like a prescribed, you would have 40 units, and all 40 units, you know what they are. But when it comes to here, like you have 40 units, but you can choose the 40 units what you want. You would actually start up studying as an engineering degree, but you could choose to specialize on anything you wanted. And you could also have multiple specialization as well. So why am I saying all this is because I think we sort of just study one thing and we expect that we are actually good at it and we expect that we'll be job ready. I don't think we are job ready in that way. We need to open our eyes and see what is out there for us. Like, you know, what is the employer looking for? I think that's more important than what we just study in the university. And I know that university gives you the foundation to get to what you want to do, but there's so much more everyone needs to do while they're studying in their university. So for example, like the the lot of things which like, you know, the job market is looking for is like, do you have job experience even before you actually take up a job? Have you done some internships? Do you have like, you know, publications? And because all that is going to add up to what makes you unique. And 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 again, like, I think we do have opportunities to do like internship here and there, but a lot of times, like, even I would say myself that I have actually never put myself through, like, you know, going to an industry and working everything, you know, doing everything. But I think it's very important. That's what the like sets every individual apart. Like, what experience do you have which is different? And I think with so many people graduating every year, it's like a basic requirement that everyone has at least about a year of internship experience before they actually graduate. So which means that you might have to find time to go do internship out of your university, like, you know, when you have like university breaks, spend those time to get experience. Spend a lot of time like in visiting industries, like, you know, either if you're like computer science engineer, like you're pursuing to be a computer science engineer, you need to go learn how to do all those different softwares. Because as soon as you come out of university, you're expected to know everything about how you need to design a software or all that. So spend a lot of time looking at, because there's so much of help these days, like in the internet, like on YouTube, on various other platforms. Like, you could almost make a living, like, you know, you can develop apps even before you actually graduate. So all that actually helps you to be unique in a way, so that, you know, when you go into a recruitment process, people, like, you know, the recruiters can see you like as a gold to like different sort of other people around. Like, they can just see that you're unique and they want to hire you. So I think the key thing here is like definitely making sure that you are like visible to people like outside. So you want to make sure that you get those experience, have that unique thing about you. And I guess like this, it's not just about studies, right? Like, you know, you need that experience outside. And if you're good at sports, it's also good. It like adds up to your personality. Take up some sports while studying, like, you know, in your universities. That 4 years is like really valuable. Like, it's just a time for you to go and like explore opportunities. What is actually, what are you good at? I've heard of like people who like have like started running marathons when they're actually in the universities. And I know those are good stories which you can actually tell in your job interview that you're actually good at doing this. And running a marathon is just not like a physical ability or like something you just do. There's so much of mental requirement you need to do while you actually run a marathon. So all that actually adds up to be a good story that you can tell a recruiter. And the recruiter is looking for unique stories. What makes you like different? And all those, like, you know, are you good at cycling? Are you good at swimming? All that adds up. Or, I mean, leave all this aside. Like, you can do like other extra work. You know, you can help your father in their business, or your like uncle or someone, like, or your relative in their business. That those experience add up. Don't look at it just as some mundane thing you do to just fill up your time. they are like so important to making sure that like your job ready to go outside. And and again, this is one thing to be job ready, but the other thing is like if you're seriously thinking about going for higher studies, there's already like things you need to prepare, right? Like, so if you want to go abroad to study or even study in India, so there are exams to be written. So think about those, start preparing for them like halfway through, like make up your mind like, yeah, this is what I want to do. But again, I'm not saying that you have to be always prepared. Sometimes you never know where your university degree is going to take you. Sometimes you might have to take a year after you finish your university to figure out what you want, because you haven't seen the world and seen how it is outside. So travel, like, travel to places, go and see how it is outside, learn about different cultures. And by doing all that, that there's opportunities, just not like, working for someone or like, looking for a job. You might even be able to start your own like business. So, I mean, end of the day, everyone is looking to like, set up their family and making sure that they have something for the future, because everyone has a career path and everyone has a personal life as well. So you need to be able to take care of your family. You will get married soon, so you need to look after your spouse. So all that is there. So I mean, I'm not talking from a perspective of just men or women here. So I think women have a huge role to play when it comes to like an economy of a country. And I think like when a lot of women these days, they study and they go to do their masters or even do their PhD. So all that is an option. And look at like, like there's options where you can pursue like, starting up your own business as well, if you know what makes it like unique. So I think everything, like the world is very competitive. So what makes you like different to others actually makes that extra leap. So again, like, spend that 4 years when you're studying in your university to the best. Like I remember when I actually did my university studies, like I spent a lot of time studying, and then I did play around a lot. There was a lot of things which it got out of hand, like in terms of like, there was a lot of times I actually like had a lot of fun. But then like end of the day, I knew that there was like a lot of um, like, family responsibilities for myself that I wanted to do. And there's also like passion also driven from you. So look at all that. Like, each time you find or something, maintain a journal or something, like, where you can actually dot down points where what you think that makes you different to other people, what things it's a good ideas and stuff. There's plenty of opportunities outside. And and again, like if you're planning to go abroad to study, again, that's also different, right? Like, you need to be prepared financially to go abroad. So make sure that you take up some like, coaching and stuff like that, so that it prepares you to go do your GRE or GMAT or even IELTS and stuff, which are like just English exams, but they are like a prerequisite for like us Indians to actually migrate outside to go study. So all that actually helps you to like, look at what is ahead, like, in the future. And again, like if you're looking to study abroad, there's few things you need to consider as well. Like, one thing, it's going to be expensive, but again, how long are you going to stay in that country to study? All that you need to think about when you actually even think about moving to another country to study. I think another one which is very important is like if you're planning to stay in that country and work after, you need to know how are the immigration laws after you complete studying, because a lot of countries these days don't allow students to stay behind and work, or they have very strict immigration laws. Um, and again, I think it's very important that you know all that before you pursue higher studies. For me, actually, I knew that there was a slight hope that I could continue working here. So that's why I actually like took up all that opportunity. It wasn't very easy. Like there was a lot of times when I didn't know I would have a visa in like about 6 months. So like, think about everything, what could happen. It's just making sure that you're ready to take up your future. See, like actually nobody's going to be responsible for your actions, right? Like I know family is there for you and everything, but end of the day, you're responsible for your activities. So think about how that's going to help you to get to your future, what you want. um, so I've talked about a few things, but definitely I would love to like get some questions at the end. But I'm going to move on to a lot of things which is going to help you after you graduate and what life is like. So I'm going to talk about physical well-being. um, we actually are like very, as kids we are like, we do a lot of activities, we run around a lot, we play a lot. But as we actually start getting older, like when life gets in the way, like when you start working, you start having a family, you actually stop moving a lot. Like you don't go out to play, you don't take up activities which actually keeps you active. So I think it's very important that you take care of your like physical well-being. It's very important. um, you need at least spend at least about uh, like about 3 hours in a week to either do some walking outside. I mean, things are going to change. Like it's not going to be like how you've been all through this while. Like we are young, so a lot of times our body can take all that. But as you get older, it's very important that you do all those physical activities, because I think as you like notice, our world is changing around us. The way we eat, the food is changing. We are getting more accustomed to Western lifestyle. Like, I mean, if you've been to Chennai, you would have seen how different it is to different other places here in regional Tamil Nadu. Like there's so much of Western cultured restaurants. Like the food is changing, the way we prepare the food is changing. So it's very important that we maintain a good exercise and uh, an activity level, because that's going to help you sustain for a very long time. You don't want to like spend all your money in like hospital bills, or you don't want to be spending money in terms of buying drugs to keep you like keep your life going. You want to actually make sure that all whatever you're doing, your physical activity is going to help you. And you would have definitely heard about this saying that food is actually your medicine. So definitely food is your medicine. And again, the right food is your medicine. When I say the right food is your medicine, it's like having a well balanced diet. So when you say about like diet, like you need to have a lot of vegetables. So all that is going to help you to keep yourself like active, and like keep yourself properly functioning in the future. We always talk about the new trend of fast food and everything. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not good for you. It's not good for you, and it's not Indian at all. The way those meals are prepared is just not Indian culture. So we enjoy the food of like having chips or like a burger or pizza or like soft drinks. They're not Indian food, and our body's not like there to take that load. And if you notice that like some of the food we eat, they are like calorie dense. They actually can make up your entire day's calorie requirement, and you could just like in a small can of Coke, or like a small like a packet of chips or small packet of French fries. um, the thing is like you might not notice all that happening to you, like or like those changes happening to you right away. But over time, in like when you like reach your 30s 40s, you're going to start having an adverse effect on your body. And and India is actually pretty good in a way, because we still have like deep rooted culture when it comes to food. We still have a lot of vegetables in a lot of ways. Like when it comes to spinach, there's like so many different ways, like ways you can cook spinach. There's like different ways you can actually make so much of different uh, different gravies or different type of food, chapati and like all that is actually a lot safer than consuming a lot of these fast food. And be mindful of what you eat. That's very important. I think your mom knows best what to cook. So make sure that you learn all those things, what is right for you. And again, like in our culture, like in a way it's changing as well. Like I said, from a perspective of westernization, we are exposed to more food and more like non-vegetarian food than before. So I guess when it comes to like I don't know, when I was a young kid, we used to have non-veg like once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or sometimes even a month. And I think even before that, it used to be like such a like you know uh, privilege to have non-veg because it was just not easy to get. But I think the way our consumer trend is changing is like now it's like readily available. You can almost have non-vegetarian meal every day, and all that's going to impact your well-being in the future. And and if you want to be happy and like well throughout your life, I think it's very important that you actually like limit how much you eat. Like you don't have to eat every day. You can have like once a week. Obviously our driving factor is like food. So you want to make sure that you like avoid or reduce some of these meals. um, you'd be wondering why I'm telling you all this, because like I know it personally, because I've gone through the period of like having these sort of food while I was in university, and then growing up a little bit older and seeing my mom like pass away because of cancer. It's very important that like you take a notice of all that. you know there's a lot of like people who are actually affected by cancer, um, and also other diseases like diabetes and everything. They're all related to food we consume. If you want to make sure that you protect your family and yourself, you need to start changing the way you actually eat. um, Actually, it's not even changing, it's just sticking to our roots, consuming things which is like less calorie dense. Don't move away from what your mom prepares and what you think your grandmom thinks, like in terms of what food you need to eat. They know what is important. So stick to all that. And when once you get older, you need to just continue doing that. Don't get carried away with the external like environment of like the fast food. The fast food is just not Indian culture, and like we need to stop all that, because the more we consume it, there's more going to be all around us. So be careful what you actually eat. um, so the next part is actually going to be financial well-being. And again, you'd be wondering why I'm actually talking about financial well-being, because it's very important. Because as you know that like what we actually choose to study, what we choose to do, is all going to be directly contributing to your um, what to say livelihood. I mean, nobody's like going to live without money, and everyone actually needs money. And I think the way we've actually been brought up, unless your family tells you how important money is, actually nobody tells you how important money is. You don't know until like you have the money in your hand. And then when you don't have money, then you know that how important that is. And and in a way, like I was fortunate to be brought up in a family where they put in all these principles to me, so that I knew how important it was. But again, when I came out, I didn't know what to do with all the money I had. Once I had actually completed my studies and I was working, you, like there's so many ways you can actually lose your money, because you would get into like activities which you think is going to bring happiness to you. But again, you need to look at it from a long term perspective. Like there's a lot of things you need to make sure that you have for yourself in the future, so that you can buy a house, or you can buy an expensive car, or you can buy like, or you can even send your son to a good school. All that actually matters. So, and I'm going to just show you something which is like very like not very hard. So this is called the power of compound interest. So I'm sure you have heard about compound interest growing up. Like I think in like sixth standard or seventh standard, we learn about compound interest. But that's very important to like how we actually look at money. So I'm going to show you an example. I'm just going to share my screen now. Hope you all can see my screen. So I have a calculator here which actually just does all the work for me. But The other thing is it's not in Indian rupees, it's actually in dollars, but just think about it's in rupees. So again, I want you all to actually think about this after this presentation, like how important this is. So again, maybe in like few months, you're actually going to go find a job, you find a job. So again, you need to put away some money for something in the future. Again, this has to be something you have to plan in your budget so that you know that this is very important. So again, there's actually like our Indian interest rates are actually quite high, which is very good, so that you can continue doing this for a long period of time. So for example, you open up a bank account, which provides you like a service where you can actually do a recurring deposit. So for example, you start with 500 rupees, and then you want to make sure that so you initial deposit 500, and you want to continue putting in 500 every month. So the frequency is every month, and the compound is actually, it's going to be done annually. And then finally you have, for example, you want to do that for like 10 years, and then an interest rate of like 7%. So again, this is over 20 years. This is how it is. So as you can see, the darker blue here is your principal. So what is the money you've been putting in the bank every year, every month? So again, after 20 years, you've actually put in nearly 1,20,000 like deposits only. But as you can see, the interest from the annual interest, which is recurring, contributes to another 1,27,000. So it's almost double of what you actually been just putting into your bank. So if you see this, like if you possibly start like just after university, like you're 21 years old, you do this until like you're like until you're 40. So not even a big effort, like it's just 500 rupees every month deposit into your bank account. And when you're 40 years old, you have 2,50,000 just from just $500, 500 rupees every month. So I'm going to show you another alternate one. So for example, you don't start early. So you start when you're 30. So you start at from 10 years, so which is like 30 years. And then you put in maybe 1,000 rupees every month. And then it's also compounded annually. So if you see this figure now, you started late, so at 30 years old, and you had to put in more money. You're putting in 1,000 rupees instead of 500 rupees every month. And then in that same time frame, you've actually made the same amount of contribution. So you've put in 1,20,000 if you do it like 500 rupees for 20 years. But if you started at 10 years, at the 10th year, and then you went again and did until like you're 40, which again contributes the same amount because you're putting 500. The other way, it's like 1,000 rupees. So from a deposit point of view, it's the same, but the interest you've actually accumulated during this period is a lot lesser. It's only 46,000. And you can see the difference here between at the 20th year, or when you're like 40 years old, the difference between this is 2,50,000, whereas the other one is only 1,66,000. That's a big difference. The reason I'm telling you this is like you need to start early to think about your future. Like you need to start thinking about what you need. Like every year it's getting expensive. Your houses are getting expensive. You're not able to find lands in different places to build, or even if there's land, the money is actually like the property value is going up in different places. So you need to prepare for all this. I mean, and 500 rupees a month is actually not even that difficult. And in 20 years, you see such a big difference. Think about putting aside at least 1/3 of your salary as a savings into a recurring deposit, something like this. But again, I'm not saying recurring deposit is the only way. There's different ways you can actually do. This is actually called investing. So you can actually reach out to a lot of banks. They can help you because there are a lot of investors in banks these days. They can help you invest your money in the right way. Or you can go at a step ahead, learn about shares and how shares operate. They all actually are like investment properties which you can actually hold and which will continue paying you dividends and also grow in share values over time. So learn about all those. They're actually very important for you to like, continue doing things outside of just your holding your job, because your job doesn't like, your pay increases very slowly compared to something like as regular as this. So again, your job and what you do with this is actually, it's going to help you in the future to build your like financial portfolio, making sure that you have money for your family. And also, like, this is like just very important to know how you manage things going forward. Going to stop this. And the next topic we're going to talk about is how is um, your mental health important. So I mean, we as in, oh, am I still sharing my screen? Sorry. Okay. So yeah, the next topic we're going to talk about is of mental well-being. So again, like I said, um, physical well-being is very important. Your financial well-being is very important. Again, mentally, you need to be fine as well. Like, I mean, once you leave universities, there's going to be a lot of things going to happen to you, like, pressures from outside. You have a professional career, and then you also have a personal life with your family, with your loved ones, and then you might get married. And then you actually welcome another family, your wife or your husband's family as well. So there's so many people actually looking at you and like what you actually do in the future. um, and it's very important that you actually acknowledge that your mental well-being is also important. So there are a few things you can actually do which I've already talked about before, like, food and eating habits is very important to continue being healthy physically and also mentally. And like I said, exercising and doing activities like physical activities helps you as well, like to make sure that you're fresh in your mind, and also making sure that you continue going. You're not like pulled down by your mental stress. Life is going to be stressful. It's not because you have so many responsibilities. So how do we manage all that? So I think the best way, one of the things you can do is like maintain a journal, talk, like write to yourself what you think, how you're feeling. Talk about your feeling to yourself, or even to your partner. Talk to them, like your wife or your spouse. Talk to them about how it's important, like, how are you feeling. Don't put it away. The more you keep putting it away, what'll happen is it'll actually start affecting your health, in terms of like you'll start having hypertension. You'll have like sudden craving for food. Everything sort of affects like, all around. Your sleep will be affected. How you react to your people, like, your spouse or your family, all that can be affected by your mental well-being. So make sure that you may, like, you spend a bit of time to cultivating a good habit in terms of managing a journal. There's also other ways you can do, like, you can do like yoga, which is very important in a way, like you can like relieve all your stress. There's also meditation, and again, meditation and yoga is different. Yoga is sort of, you do, it's like sort of an exercise. But again, like when you start meditating, you sort of calm yourself from all the stress outside you. So yeah, keep in mind. So the last thing I want to actually touch on is life after COVID-19. and you would have seen how badly, like, some part of India has been affected, and also globally how bad it's been affected because of something as small as a virus. Life is not going to be the same. Like, you might have difficulties this year, because what's going to happen is, once your COVID-19 is ended, people are, like, the country will start going into recession. Like, I'm in Australia now. We actually almost through our COVID-19 situation. What's happening now is, nobody is willing to hire people, and the country itself is like going into a financial change, so that we can preserve ourselves for the future. So that's all going to affect you. Like, so be careful, like learn a lot of things, spend all this time, like, while you're actually like staying at home, um, so that you're not wasting that time. The life just moves on. Like, this 3 months or something, if you're affected by COVID and you're staying at home, it's not going to come back to you after this. You might have exams, you will have other things just come very quickly after we reopen the country. You need to be like really, like, careful with all this, like, times you've spent, and making sure that you know what to do after this. So again, from in terms of how COVID-19 is going to change is, like, you might not even go to universities for a while. Like, it might not be a big requirement, because what will happen is, you might be able to do all these classes online. So that's how it's going to change. Like, for me personally, I haven't gone to my office for like over 3 months now, and I don't know in the future what's going to happen is, I might be able to do all this job from a house. So you might not even see an office environment. You might be expected to work from home. So all that's going to happen. And also, like, from job perspective, it's going to impact you a lot, because nobody's going to start hiring people, because they know that they're not getting business. So spend, if you don't find a job or something after this, spend the time to find your passion, keep yourself ready when things better. Like, prepare your resume, prepare your um, like cover letter, whatever is required to actually apply for a job. Keep your applications ready. And then, if still something doesn't happen, enhance yourself. There's so much of knowledge online these days. You can either get it for free, or you can spend a little bit of money to educate yourself, learn about things, keep yourself updated. And finally, I would like to finish off by saying that um, the other thing we all need to think about, because life is not going to be the same, because over time our environment has changed. When I say environment, it's like, because there's so many people in the world, our environment is being destroyed by pollution. There's like deforestation. There's so many things which is happening to our environment. We are emitting a lot more greenhouse gas these days. So I think, if you want to see our, like, for another few generations, it is very important that we start taking measures ourselves. Um, you need to be mindful of what things are required for the environment. So government is not going to change a lot of things. The change comes from us. The change we need to do to make sure that we preserve the environment for future. So there's plenty of information online, like how you can do to preserve our environment. Like, stop getting plastic when you buy stuff from outside. Take your own bags. In that way, you stop buying or getting unwanted plastics. Like, stop buying water bottles outside. Like, try to bring your own water when you're traveling outside. All that small little change actually changes how the environment is going to be in the future. The other things is also thinking about how, like, as a community, we can help everyone come up, because environment is like going to impact everyone. Like, there's going to be factories built here and there, but as a community, if we stand together, we can actually come out stronger. So there's another 5 minutes. I'll open up this stage for questions.
Participants, if you have any queries, you can post in the chat box. Otherwise, you can unmute and you can ask. please ask your doubt or any queries. You post it or you unmute your mic and you talk. Students, if you have any queries, you can ask him. So they have no doubt, they understood everything well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know like how like whether the students are either completing this year or they're still studying. But I mean, if you have any doubts, you can ask me. But also, I'll leave my contact information with your professors so that you can reach out to me if you need. Um, Definitely, like I'm putting you on stage right now to ask questions. But again, if you don't have anything, um,
Students from first,
that's all
second
right.
year and third year are here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jairam. I request Swatika ma'am to give the vote of thanks.
Good morning to one and all. First of all, I would like to thank the resource person, Engineer Jairam, R&D Formulation Lead, Masspet Nutrition, Australia, and he has explained about physical well-being, financial well-being, and he has also explained with examples how to deposit money regularly, and also he has explained how mental health is very important for a student as well as all people, and he has very clear in explaining about employees can expect experience as well as skills. So nowadays students should develop experience in internship programs. So many students are coming out nowadays by getting graduated, but we have to make ourselves unique as well as in a different way. So you can either by starting an industry or by getting with a new business. So for you students, there are so many opportunities waiting for you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your
Okay. Thank you.
presence. Thank you, sir. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Jairam. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, have a good day. Bye.
Bye.